Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show betting show for this week. And obviously, we know what's coming up this week. And there's only one show in town, really, and that's UFC 267, which miraculously goes down early over here in Ireland and over in Abu Dhabi, as we have two titles up for grabs in the main event and the co-main event. And it's a fantastic card up and down it. Obviously, the main event is Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira for the light heavyweight title. Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen for it's the interim title. It feels like it's not the interim title, but of course, Aljamain Sterling, by way of a disqualification against Petr Yan, won the official title, and now obviously he's out injured after a kind of complications, I suppose, following that neck injury. We have some big heavyweight fights in it as well. We have Teixeira against Volkov, a light heavyweight fight between Ankalaev and Ozdemir, and Chimaev and Li Zhangliang as well in a big fight. Very good undercard as well. Amanda Hebas is on it. Zubaira Tuhugov against Ricardo Hamas. Obviously, Hebas is fighting Virna Jandiroba, who's been on a very good run lately and is looking good. Lerone Murphy from this side of the world against Amir Khani, who's trained out of SBG Ireland as well. Kopylov 8-1. Benoit Saint-Denis 8-0 coming in against Zaleki dos Santos. So there's some very, very good talent on this card. But I'm here for bets, and that's what everyone's looking for. As I record this, last week's bets, I got Marvin Vittori. No, he won. I said it. I'm still waiting on the PFL one. Actually, it's the PFL one will be happening here in a couple of hours. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting on that one. So hopefully that will come off. But yeah, not the best bet of the week. But we got 5 out of 9 so far. That's not the worst so far. So hopefully we will get a couple of right here again, and we will have a better third week. So as always, I'm going to give you 5 bets, 4 straight up, and in a flyer. I really like my flyer this week. I must say, I really like my flyer. But the first bet I'm going for is Islam Makhachev via decision over Daniel Hooker at plus 100. And if you look at their records here over on Sherdog.com, Makhachev has 8 wins by decision, 6 decision losses for Hooker. Hooker's only submission losses were outside the UFC back in 2012 and 2010. Now, look, on that alone, sometimes those stats can be a little bit deceiving because of the level of competition and different things like that. I think when the stat that makes the most sense there for me is no submission loss for Hooker since 2012 or 2010. That's a long time to go without a submission loss. And now you could say maybe, okay, Makhachev will take him down and either submit him or knock him out would be the main thinking if it wasn't going to be a decision. I think most people think Makhachev will win it, which I'll get to more in a second. But I just think Hooker will be wary enough, will be used to fighting off his back enough to survive the kind of the ground and pound goings in this one. Now, those are probably famous last words because Makhachev is an absolute animal. He absolutely could finish him here, no doubt about it. But I do think Hooker is smart enough, tough enough as well as a very important thing to say here to survive that. But I do think he will be put in those positions. I favour Makhachev heavily to win this fight. He is a big favourite, obviously here to win. Let me just pull it up here as I look at it. He's minus 650. Dan Hooker is plus 400. So to go from minus 650 to just for him to win by decision at plus 100, I think that's a very, very good bet. As I mentioned, 8 wins by decision, 6 decision losses for Hooker. I just think that's too good to turn down, and that is my first bet. So I'm going for Makhachev by decision at plus 100. But the way I see the fight going is, you'll probably listen to every other analyst here on Sherdog and beyond, and they'll probably tell you, well, Makhachev will be striking hard at looking for takedowns, not trying to spend too much time on the feed, watching those knees up through the middle from Dan Hooker and just attempting to push him against the cage, get him down with a double leg in the middle if he can. And I feel the exact same way. I'm not going to give you any big analysis on this fight, other than what other people have given you. But I do think the one piece I would pick out and why I've gone for the decision, if you're giving me a decision over a submission, over a KO or anything, or over any other result in this, I would take it. And at plus 100, I think that's the way to do it. And as I mentioned, I think Hooker's toughness and Makhachev's unrelentingness will get him probably a 30-27, maybe a 30-26, maybe a 30-25 weight here. But yeah, I don't see Hooker winning. So that is my first bet. My first three bets actually are all by decision, and the second one I'm going for Yan Blachowicz to win by decision. He has 11 wins by decision in his career. Glover Teixeira has 4 decision losses. The only people to stop Glover Teixeira since his pro debut are Rumble Johnson and Alexander Gustafsson. So that tells you how hard he is to finish. Now, this is another one of those ones where I think Blachowicz will win. I was talking on the Severe Med podcast this week, out every Sunday, if you check it out on severemed.com, about this fight. And we were kind of, myself and my co-host Graham over there were kind of discussing the fight, how it would go and who would win. And I feel like, but if you look at it right and you break it down into little pieces, who's a better striker? I would say Blachowicz is a little bit. I'd say who's a better wrestler? I would say Glover Teixeira, or Blachowicz is a little bit over Glover Teixeira as well. Now, Glover Teixeira, is he a good striker? Yes, I think he is. Is he a good wrestler? I think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers in the UFC, to be honest, and I have thought that way for a while. But I do think Blachowicz is just better than him a little bit in every area. And now, I think that is enough for it to be a win, and maybe not a comprehensive win. I think it's enough for it to be a close fight, but a win for Blachowicz. And at plus 280 to go to a decision, that again would be my method of victory, I think, here. If you were to give me everything at even money, I would go for that. So at plus 280, I think that's a very, very good price. I just think Blachowicz, he has his preparations, like his preparation for his last fight, or what was his last fight? He's prepared anyway for the Israel Adesanya fight, is a very good boxer and a very good kickboxer, a very good striker. I think his preparation for that will help his preparation for what Glover will bring in terms of the boxing. I think he's a very good boxing, and I think he's been preparing his whole career, don't get me wrong, but his style is kind of this hard-nosed kickboxer with more, and Blachowicz I'm talking about here, more stylish maybe than people actually give him credit for, will be just a little bit better than Glover Teixeira's boxing style. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded and has, as I said, his preparations for guys who are going to bring a more solid style, should I say, like, and I'm not saying Adesanya and Glover Teixeira are the exact same, but if you get what I mean, like, they're more a striking, solid style. I think that will help him on the feet, and I think on the ground, I think that actually the takedowns in that, he's gotten takedowns in fights before, but I think the takedowns in that fight have kind of illuminated for a lot of people what Yan Blachowicz can actually do as an all-round fighter. And I think maybe Glover will be a little more reluctant to take him down because of that. And I feel like there mightn't be that many takedowns in this fight, and it'll just turn into a kickboxing match. And if it does, I think Blachowicz wins that, and I think he wins by decision. So that's my second pick, Yan Blachowicz by decision plus 280. My third pick, right? So this was almost going to be my flyer. This was almost going to be my flyer. It's Khamzat Chimaev. I've gone for him to win by decision again, as I mentioned, first 3 by decision, plus 280. I think that's really, really good. I think that's good. Li Jingliang, he's fighting, who's lost 5 of his 6 fights by decision. Now, the reason why this was going to be my flyer, and the reason why I picked him to win by decision, Khamzat has won all of his fights inside the distance. So as I mentioned earlier, I don't think past is always prologue, especially when you're moving up in level in terms of fights. I have a few reservations about Chimaev, not based on anything we've seen so far in his fight career, but based on where he's been for the last while, and he's obviously, you could call them injury problems, but he's illness problems. Like, he had COVID. It seems like he had long COVID. Hasn't fought since in 13 months now. He was a guy that was fighting every 2 weeks, it felt like, when he came into the UFC at first. So I just feel like that time out of the cage, and like, okay, no, you could probably say Li Jingliang hasn't had that many fights in the last while. Everyone has had time away, so that's maybe not a big of an excuse as it used to be, or not excuse, but a big of a reason as it used to be. But I just think that illness and that tile that his body has been put through over the last while, I think it's going to be really hard for him to come back and be that monster immediately. Now, Hopefully he is, and hopefully we have a great fight. And even if he is, maybe Li Jiang will still win. Now, I've gone for Chimaev and I've gone for decision. But my flyer was almost going to be Lee, because I really like Lee's style. I really like him as a fighter. I think he's really, really good. And even picking Chimaev to win by decision, like a bit oddly, is talking about that, is talking up Li Jiangliang's ability, because to think someone can go to a decision with Chimaev is a pretty good thing to say about it, with how unbelievable and how much of a juggernaut Chimaev has looked over the last while. So I'm going for that one. I just think, like, okay, Chimaev, we saw him coming out against Rhys McKeon, against John Phillips, taking him down and just dominating him on the ground, choking out John Phillips and TKOing Rhys McKee with ground and pound, and then one punch KO against Gerald Meerschaert. So we saw the ground part and we saw the stand up part. I think Lee will be a bit better in the stand up than Meerschaert was, maybe a little bit faster. Now, that's not to say he might go out and get starched, you know what I mean? But I think he is a good striker, not the best fighter in the world, and I think he's a very good scrambler on the floor. Now, that doesn't mean he won't get taken down either. Don't go out and back no takedowns or anything like that. But I think against someone like Chimaev, right, if he's not 100% and you can force him to scramble, take a bit of air out of him, take a bit of that oxygen out of his lungs, and just force him to fight more than he's usually been forced to fight, I think that can prolong the fight, give you more chances. And, maybe it won't get you the win in the end, but maybe it will get, if you're looking from a betting point of view, maybe it'll get Chimaev a decision win. So that was my thinking all along. That was my thinking. If I was to bet straight up, maybe I would go for Chimaev to win inside the distance. But I really do think there are too many questions over Chimaev right now. And I think that betting line kind of shows that. But if you answer those some questions in some way, take this fight to the ground, dominate it on the ground for long periods, win the decision, I think that price will suddenly go from one that looks very good to one that looks very, very good by the time the fight ends. So yeah, that is my third bet there. Chimaev plus 280 over Jiangliang via decision. My next bet here is Lerone Murphy minus 290 against Makwan Amirkhani. Now, I'm not a big one for giving like these almost 3-1 on bets, and I won't do that often. But I think this is one, if you want to throw it into an accumulator, if you want to do something like that, I think this is a very good bet, because I think Lerone Murphy should be way more than minus 290 here. I think he's a fantastic fighter. If you don't know him, he's fighting out of the UK, and anyone watching the UFC last week, right? The UK and Irish scene, and I've been like a part of it, obviously covering it for the last 7-8 years. Fair play to everyone covered here. We really big up our fighters over here. Look at Mason Jones last week. Look at Jai Herbert. Look at Paddy Pimblett. Look at Conor McGregor, James Gallagher, Kiefer Crosby, Michael Bisping. For years and years and years, fantastic UK and Ireland are really good at it. And we do it way better than America, way better than Australia. New Zealand are pretty good at it as well, but way better than everywhere in the world. We're fantastic at it. Lerone Murphy is one of these guys that's completely flown under the radar. And every time he fights, I kind of say that. And I'm not changing that thing. I don't know. I can't change the opinion on this one for some reason. But this guy is a really, really, really good fighter. And sooner or later, people will realize it. Unlike Makwan Amirkhani, he's a fun style. He's a good fighter. He trained over here in Ireland for a while as well. And, we've seen him up close, and he's a very, very good fighter. But I just think Lerone Murphy is so well-rounded and such a brilliant fighter that minus 290 is one of those prices. Maybe in a year's time, you'll see he was only minus 290 against Makwan Amirkhani. No disrespect to Amirkhani. This is all about Lerone Murphy. I think Amirkhani, we've kind of seen, maybe not his ceiling, but seen how what his level is in the UFC. And his level, I think, is a good UFC fighter who absolutely deserves his place in the promotion. But I think Lerone Murphy is probably fighting a little bit under his level at the moment. And he's a guy who in the next couple of years, I predict, is going to rise and is going to get towards the very top. So I think minus 290, if you're betting it straight up, or you're betting it in an accumulator, I really think that's a good one. I think his striking will be a little bit too much for him. I think he will be able to stop him taking down. And I even think Lerone Murphy might be able to even throw in a few takedowns of his own. So yeah, I really like that one. Now, as well, I didn't say it at the start, but please bet responsibly. I'll try to say that. I'll remember to say it in every podcast. Please bet responsibly. Only bet what you can bet. Only bet what you feel comfortable betting. Don't go overboard. Don't take my word for any of these bets. I'm not a gambling expert. I am an MMA expert, if you want to say it that way, in terms of covering the sport, in terms of looking at the records and going through them and things like that. And maybe I will have a good tidbit or two, or maybe like last week, I'll get like 1 out of 5 right, and I'll be absolutely useless. So keep that in mind. Don't go overboard. Don't bet too much, and have fun with it. You know, if you've a spare tenner at the end of the week, maybe you could turn it into €20, you know, or maybe you could turn it to €2, so or $2 or whatever it is, whatever part of the world you're in. So, with that in mind, here's my flyer for the week, and I love this one. I love this flyer. I love it. Petr Yan to win in round 3 or 4. Plus 550, so that's 5.5 to 1. What is it, 11 to 2 in old money? What a bet that is! Like, if you look at Petr Yan over the last while, and especially the Aldo fight, right? And maybe I'm picking out the Aldo fight because he won it in the 5th round, which you know, and that wouldn't been my bet, but you know what I mean. I think he has a style, right? And I remember back in the day, the great Patrick Wyman, when he was covering MMA, we missed him. He talked about Conor McGregor, actually. And he talked about how sometimes he one-punch knockouts people and hurts them really bad, and you could say the same for Yan. But him, when he's at his best, he hits you and hits you and hits you and hits you and takes the fight out of you. And it's not necessarily just like a 2 or 3 minute fighter. It's like a 2 or 3 round fighter, and I actually think that is more to Yan than even it is was McGregor in the past. Maybe not as much, you know, over the last few years or whatever. But I think Petr Yan is one of those fighters who fights in. You know, he knocked out Uriah Faber in the 3rd round. It late in the after the 2nd round. Against Douglas D'Andrade. As I mentioned, in the 4th round, the Aljamain Sterling one, it looked like it was going to be over in the 4th round. He's gone to a few decisions, gone late in fights, but I think he's getting better all the time at being a kind of a devastator in terms of his striking, and he'll just take it away from you all the time. And I think Corey Sandhagen, it's only, let me just look at it here, pull up his record again, July of 2021. So May, June, July, August, September, October, 2.5, 3 months since his last fight, a 5-round split decision over TJ Dillashaw. That is a lot of damage to take and not a lot of time to recover from it. You know, that was a tough fight. It was a very, very tough fight. And to go in against Yan and take that amount of damage again for 15 to 20 minutes, that is going to be tough. And I think as well, like, I think Sandhagen, I wouldn't rule Sandhagen out of winning this fight whatsoever. I think he's a very, very good fighter. And I think he's a better chance early than he has late. You know, the longer the fight goes, I think the more it favours Yan. I just think those flying kicks and those big knees up through the middle, like he landed against Frankie Edgar, are going to work well against Yan, to be honest. And I think he'll catch Yan at some stage. I really do. Maybe he won't knock him out. I don't think he will knock him out, but he might. But I think Yan might throw in a few takedowns as well, wear Sandhagen out, and I just think he has that extra punching power over most people in that division against a guy like Sandhagen, who is wild, who will take a shot to give one. And I think that will tell. I think time will tell. I think, you know, what did I say? In the bet is in the 3rd or 4th round, plus 550. I think that's a good bet, you know. Just take him apart, and then finish him. That's how I see the fight going, and that's my flyer for the week. Plus 550, Petr Yan against Corey Sandhagen. So I'll run through a couple more of the prices here now. These are not my bets. I have my 5 bets in, so you could look at these ones all you want. So just to quickly go through the card, Glover Teixeira is plus 240 to beat Jan Blachowicz, who is minus 310. If you fancy Sandhagen straight up, he's plus 210. With Petr Yan at minus 265. Dan Hooker, big price, plus 440 against Makhachev, minus 650. I was looking at Volkov, minus 290 against Tybura, plus 255. And maybe looking at that one as one of the ones, you know, for the flyer bet. But I don't know. I can never predict which Volkov is going to show up. You know, he's 12-1 to win by submission. You know, or he is, he's plus 195 to win by decision. So it's just one of them is like, well, which one am I going to go? Which one am I going to go for there? Will he knock him out? I think it's more likely that Volkov wins the decision than knocks him out. Tybura to win by TKO KO is plus 700. That was another flyer I was looking at. Tybura's been on a good run. He's a good fighter. But it's one of those ones where I think that price, minus 290, is too big. I really do. I think he should be minus maybe 200, maybe minus 185 even. I think there's too much of a gap there. Does that mean you should take Tybura? Maybe. I'm not a betting expert. Maybe not. But I would barely pick up Volkov. I think that line is too much. Khamzat minus 520. That's a big line there. Zhang Liang plus 370. If you fancy him to win, that's a very good price. I've just gone for Chimaev in the decision, as I said. Ankalaev minus 340. Ozdemir plus 260. Hebas minus 180 or 158. Sorry. Jandiroba plus 128. That's just about right. I think that's just about right. Ricardo Hamas plus 140. Zubair Tuhugov minus 172. Honestly, I think that's a good price into Tuhugov. Hamas, you never know with him as well what you're going to get. He could come out and be a destroyer. He could come out and wilt. You know, he's one of those guys. Kabilov plus 260. That's a good price over Jurev, minus 340. Don't know too much about him, to be honest. I won't lie to you. Saint-Denis, who comes in undefeated, he's plus 172 against Lecky dos Santos. That's a tough opener to your career, minus 215. Oloshchuk plus 134. Gatimov minus 164. Lerone Murphy, as I mentioned, minus 340. He can be gotten at a little bit less. In some places minus 290. I think I had him there. Yeah, I had him at minus 290. Yeah, so for that you can get Makhachev Canny up to plus 275 in some places. So if you shop around, if you fancy that. And then there's a couple more fights as well. Nasiminta plus 260, minus 340 for Ulbankev. Mustayev plus 194. Ismagulov minus 249. And Petrovsky minus 245 against Hugh plus 194. So there isn't really much that sticks out to me on that undercard apart from the Murphy one. I'll just recap my bets quickly again for you. Makhachev via decision plus 100. Blachowicz by decision plus 280. Chimaev via decision plus 280. Also gone for Lerone Murphy minus 290 to win straight up. And the last one is Petr Yan to win in either round 3 or round 4. My flyer of the week at plus 550. Enjoy the fights this weekend, bet responsibly, and I'll see you all next time. Good luck.